Hello and welcome to Uniqlo Tate Late's Night In.
I'm Hunt.
And I'm Darton, and we'll be your hosts this evening.
Tonight we'll be exploring Tate Modern's collection and looking at how collection artworks can inspire creativity in all forms.
Tonight we'll be welcoming artists working in London and beyond as they share their creative responses to artworks, from the mouth-watering edible designs to marvellous makeup and mindful movement.
That's right, plus we're chatting to some of the artists from Tate's collection, all supported by Uniqlo.
Now there are two streams running side by side, so you can stick with one or jump between the two videos. Don't forget to share your experience and join the conversation on social media using the hashtag #TateLates.
It's clear.
First up, we are very excited to welcome the Guerilla Girls,
an anonymous group of feminist activist artists.
They're chatting to musician and artist Bishi about the art of behaving badly, much like failure. Something we embrace at all times. And the importance of art and activism.
We're going international here. This interview was recorded between London, New York City, or NYC as the cool kids say, or LA, or Los Angeles as the not cool kids say. Enjoy.
Hello, Frida, and hello, Kathy. It's so good to be in conversation with you. How are you, and how have you been over lockdown?
Well, it's been a challenge, but we've always had a life online and a virtual life, and we've lived our lives behind masks. So another mask is no big deal.
Right. Have you been carrying on working while you've been in lockdown, or have you just taken some time out?
Well, we were working on a book. We worked on it for 3 years, and it's coming out in about a month or so. So it was in the end game. So in a way, we were really lucky. We all had to be really busy working on this thing. And after we finished that, another thing happened, which is exhibitions are starting up again. So while a lot of our stuff was postponed for a year, we're now hugely crazed again.
And
Yeah.
one really interesting thing is now that it's difficult to travel, we can do all of our gigs virtually. And for a long time, it was impossible for us to, for example, do an appearance at a university in the UK. But now, except for the time difference, it's absolutely possible. So we hope that that works out.
Well, absolutely. I mean, here we are today through the magic of Zoom and the internet. I understand the book is called The Art of Behaving Badly, which I think is a brilliant title. Could you sum up what the book is about?
This book is the first time that we've gathered all of our work over 35 years together. It's not the kind of book that has essays or anything like that. It's all about the work. And the work is chronological, and you can really see how this crazy idea we had all those years ago of twisting issues around and presenting them in a different way using facts and humor played out in huge places, huge outdoor spaces and indoor spaces on the internet. And the themes: museum corruption, racism, sexism, in all different ways, go through from the very, very beginning until today.
Absolutely. Why is behaving badly so important now? And yeah, and dish any dirt. I mean, who is the most badly behaved artist you've encountered?
Well, it's not just the artists, it's the entire system. And I think we're living in a great time now where people are no longer content with just complaining about things. They really want things to change. They're pressuring for change. And a lot of the things that we were talking about 25, 30 years ago now have become, accepted problems. Everyone accepts that they're a problem. Now we have to figure out a way to change them. And corruption in museums, at least in American museums, is so transparent now, with the boards of trustees, the members of the boards being involved in hideous industries that don't make the world better, that make the world worse. people are starting to ask, why are these people on the boards of museums? How can the museum really stand for a better world when they have people on their boards that are working towards a worse world? So it's time to start pressuring to change things. We all know we have a really good idea of what's wrong, and now it's time to change.
And can you think of the best examples where you're seeing that change take place?
Well, the change needs to take place. I mean, obviously, it's been an incredible explosion around the world, and of course in the U.S. The whole Black Lives Matter protests and income inequality protests in general also, but here we have a really screwed up system, which is really, really hard to change. So many amazing people are strategizing. There's so much will to do it. The question is, can we make our moribund government change?
And also, there are lots of pressures inside museums. Museums in the United States, the employees are starting to unionize. And there are organizations that are pressuring people on the boards of directors to leave. Warren Kanders, who was a director, he's on the board of the Whitney Museum, and he manufactures tear gas and rubber bullets. And over a year's pressure, he finally left the board.
Wow.
Yes, and I sort of predict that many of Jeffrey Epstein's associates who are on boards of American museums will be the next to go.
Right. Wow. One of your well-recognized pieces is called Dearest Art Collector. If you had to rewrite this letter today, what would you say?
Actually, we did rewrite it.
Oh, you did? Okay.
In a way. Yeah, wait, let me see if I'll read it to you. Okay.
Oh,
We did
fantastic.
rewrite it in around 2015
Uh-huh.
as, and we call it Dear Billionaire Art Collector, because more and more these same few art collectors, they control museums, they sit on the boards, and they also control what artists are getting collected, because they can donate that work to museums as well. So this time it said, Dear Art Collector, art is so expensive, even for billionaires. We completely understand why you can't pay all your employees a living wage. And this was a big projection on the Whitney Museum in New York, and now it's been all over the world, sometimes like 40 feet long.
Yeah. And what was the response to that version of the work?
Well, I'd like to think that one of the responses was Decolonize This Place, which is an organization that pressured Warren Kanders to leave the board of the Whitney. I think it starts ripples among other activists.
And could you explain to me this concept of the male graze, which I think is so vital and so important in with the current time around harassment and Me Too and yeah.
Well, every museum right now, and people in general in society, are trying to figure out how to deal with these issues. But we think it's very amusing in museums because they're filled with art, with a certain gaze and position vis-a-vis women, filled with artists who are now known abusers. Not all artists, of course, but they're there on the walls. And we started thinking, boy, we need to help museums deal with this issue. So we've been working on this for a while. We started with a poster called, oh God, what was that poster? Oh, wait, here. This is what it's called, and I'll read it. It's called 3 Ways to Write a Museum Wall Label When the Artist is a Sexual Predator. And our 3 ways were, first, for museums afraid of alienating their billionaire trustees and collectors. Then there was one for museums conflicted about disclosing an artist's abuse next to his art. And then there was museums who need help from us to actually do the right thing. And the male gaze, the male gaze, this important art historical term, which teaches all of us in school that it is the mostly white male European look at things that creates what you're supposed to consider important art. Now, we don't believe that's true anymore, but it's still all there on the wall. And one day we were just, we always try to find a new way into something. And we just thought, the male gaze, isn't that what it's really about? All those London art schools, every single one had predatory male teachers preying on young, often, early teenage female students. And we just thought it would be great to use that as a title to explore bad male behavior. We're doing that at Art Night London in the courtyard of Somerset House next year sometime, whenever it's safe to have everyone get together. And it's gonna be really out there exploration of some of these bad behaving guys.
Yeah.
Taking it a little bit further, the more we thought about sexual abuse in the culture at large, we saw how it was aestheticized in the history of Western art. There are so many examples of, naked women, of course, are always naked, and they're usually idle, and they are there for the delectation of the male gaze. But if you look a little bit closer, not only are they idle, but oftentimes they're being seduced, they're being abducted, they're being raped, and even a few cases they're murdered. So there is the idea of sexual violation and violence in Western art, and it's sort of an accepted theme. And we would like people to think about that. As much as we've been able to get people to think about who the artists are with our early posters about counting women and artists of color, we would also like people to see a Rubens not just as a lot of beautiful flesh, but as women being acted upon violently by male predators in stories.
Recently, Tate Collectives asked artists to create responses to Dearest Art Collector for a billboard display, taking their art out of galleries and making it visible on the streets. Why do you think the work of the Guerrilla Girls still resonates with younger artists today?
Oh, I think you have to ask the artists that question, but we were thrilled to see all the takeoffs. It was so exciting to see what comes out of what we did, and also to find that people still care and they can transform it into something else.
Yeah.
Our fans have always been young from the very beginning until now. And I think it's because we're a model for doing things in a different kind of way, in a fierce way, in your own way. And so many people are doing that and want to do that. And in the world of art, artists are great. They devote their whole lives to their work, but the art world sucks. And we support all artists, and they've almost always supported us.
Absolutely. Well, I think, as I said, just in the sort of pre-interview situation, that one of your books came out in my late teens, and I'd never seen anything like it. And it's all about women and stereotypes, and I still haven't seen anything like it. And I passed this book on to an ex-songwriter friend, and now her teenage daughter is now writing feminist songs on Instagram in response to this book. So there's this beautiful golden arch. And I think one of the things that I really picked up on looking at the advanced copy of the book is the longevity at which you've survived. I mean, it's a real feat of, now with social media and the internet, you can get things up really fast, and that has changed everybody's lives. I have a career because of the internet. There's so many people of my generation and younger are able to really grow what they do, and the immediacy from which you can put media out online is just unparalleled at this point. but you really have to be consistent about what you're doing and how you're putting it out there. And what occurs to me is what feels like, like people make amazing slogans, they make, design amazing things, and it's just up on Instagram in minutes. There's something about the longevity at which the Guerrilla Girls have survived, and I think it's that longevity that I think people just need to hear about what it takes. Do you have any words of advice or wisdom about how you stay in it for the long haul?
Well, one thing is to not accept the standard filters of the art world. We've never been, loved by the art market. We've never been loved by collectors or benefactors or all the people that the art world needs. We've really been supported by people who like art, who love art, who care about art. Many, many people. More people can own our posters than can ever own, a $1 million painting that hangs over a rich person's sofa. So we've really gone past all those filters and not cared about them and gone right to what people are thinking about art and how it reflects cultural attitudes.
And our work isn't just about art. I mean, it's about so many issues that other people are involved with too. And the main thing is our motto. I don't think we would have realized our motto until lately, but from the beginning, when we started out, our motto was really do one thing. If it works, do another. If it doesn't, do another anyway. And we're always trying to craft our work better, making it work better, taking on new issues, all kinds of issues all over the world. But the other thing is, it's so easy to get discouraged, but if you keep trying, which is what creative people do, what activists do, they keep trying, over time, it really adds up to something.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so when you started the Guerrilla Girls, what were your influences? Because it feels very, very punk what you were doing.
Well, who knows? I might have purple hair. You don't know. Well, I think we were looking at a lot of things. We were angry, trying to figure out a way to express our anger, and we decided that the streets were ours to claim. And I guess we were influenced by the language of advertising and how you can influence someone very quickly. And we always wanted to transform people's minds. We weren't talking to the choir. We always wanted to change the way people thought about things, because when we first started out, there was a great deal of disbelief about the art world because everyone thought it was a meritocracy. And when we started to criticize, the decisions of curators and art museums, people thought, oh my God, those are the authorities. And we were saying, authorities, well, they can just be as human as the rest of us, and they can make lots of mistakes too. And why should we accept what's fed to us as the history of art, when in fact we are the history of art?
Yeah. There's another artwork that we'd like to reference, and it's the advantages of being a woman in the arts. Do you think it's any better now?
Well, it'd be really interesting to go over that checklist and give it a report card. I don't know. Tata, what do you think?
It's definitely better now. I mean, it's always 2 steps forward, 1 step back, but women artists are appreciated now in a way that they were absolutely not appreciated in 1988, I think, which is when we did that poster so long ago. And women also, it's also true in politics, in all kinds of fields, things are better. The problem is these old ideas and thousands of years of values do die hard. So no, everyone needs to keep up the pressure. And there's so many incredible women, trans women who are just accomplishing amazing things, and they're everywhere. I mean, it used to be that a museum would have 5% women artists in their collection. Nothing. Now it's sometimes even 30%. That's progress.
However, the economics of the art world have not been kind to women and BIPOCs. We still don't get the same kind of value, which means that we cannot produce at the same level. And as long as art is really judged on its monetary value, only the white men are going to be able to produce it because they're the ones who go home with most of the money.
It's been so wonderful to speak to you. I hope that if and when the Art Night London thing happens, I want to come down and I want to meet you again in person, and I want to be there.
Oh, yes.
I would absolutely love that. And thank you everyone for watching. I really hope you've enjoyed this interview as much as I have.
And also make trouble, everyone out there. Behave badly and make as much trouble as you can.
Your life depends on it, and justice in the world depends on it.
Next up, join artist and Great British Bake Off winner Frances Quinn for a delicious delve into Tate Modern's collection as we find out about her creative baking process. Darton, wait. It's the wrong theme.
It's not.
No, it is. That's the Antiques Roadshow.
No way.
Yeah, and what's that? What have you got?
Cake.
Okay. Well, you, Karen. Yeah. Just carry on.
Yeah, I will.
Not with the theme.
Okay.
That's bad. Learn some baking basics inspired by Monet's Water-Lilies. Yum. Can I have some cake now?
My name's Frances Quinn, designer, baker, probably best known for winning the Great British Bake Off, but it's really my background in art and design that informs a lot of the edible creations I make, whether they be recipes in my book or the pieces that I've produced for the Tate over the years. So as you can see from my sketchbook pages, I'm really drawn to collage and layering up lots of different elements to sort of play on the different textures and mixed medium that I sort of see between food and design. And they really help inform my final creations. I sometimes work back to front, or sometimes I will start straight off the sketchbook page, but I often like using elements within the bake, whether it's even greaseproof paper to layer up some of the different textures on the page, or pieces from food packaging, so you get that real tie over between the different mediums. So these are just some edible paints that I just mixed up using some water icing and then added some vanilla buttercream to it just to give it more that sort of thicker consistency of paint. And then I've just got one of the biscuit palettes here that I've cut out, and then I'm just going to use an ordinary paintbrush, but you could also use like a pastry brush to really play on the sort of mixed medium approach. Here I've actually already just got some vanilla mix, so again you really don't need to be too precious, just splodge that on there, mix that on, a little bit of yellow, a little bit of blue, and you can also put some flavourings in the buttercream itself, so you could put some rose extract or some lemon or even lavender, and play on sort of almost the French flavourings as well. So like I said, the muckier the better really, because that just adds more authenticity to your actual palette. You can have it as an impressionist biscuit like that, or you could also apply it onto a cake or a bit of rice paper, so it's a full piece of edible art. So yeah, just play around and see what impressions you make. So David Hockney, without doubt one of my favourite British artists, for his use of colour, composition, and just how the paintings literally pop in front of your very eyes. So I was very, very honoured to be asked to recreate some of his pieces within an edible guise, but I'll just show you a few of the pieces that I particularly used and how I translated them into an edible art form. So this first one, obviously the swimming pool of dreams. Even looking at the little tiles here, they were just reminding me of little blocks of chocolate. So I used those translated then also into millionaire shortbread to get that sort of gradient of the biscuit, the caramel and the chocolate to almost represent the different tiling in between all of this. And then one of the other pieces I looked at was, there's the man himself, was obviously David as the actual artist himself, and using his iconic glasses, biscuit bifocals. So I just got some chocolate biscuit dough and rolled it out, and then I had this bespoke spectacle cookie cutter design, and then I used glacier mints to go inside to create the glass, and then just some little silver balls just to make out the detail on the side of each of the glasses. So they actually got sold at the Tate Cafe, so you could get a pair of glasses with a cup of coffee and a flat white. So this was his famous Going Up Garraby Hill, and I just loved all the different colours, and the trees themselves in my mind reminded me of rhubarb stalks. And because as well Hockney's from Yorkshire and it's known for the rhubarb triangle, that was another reason for including it. And so it was sort of, taking the beautiful sort of dark blush pink of the stalks, which you can see in the painting itself, and then using the top of the rhubarb stalk, but I translated that into mint just so it had a bit more of an edible guise to it. And so you could even do like some Hockney inspired rhubarb cordial fizz, and maybe even using drinking straws or a paintbrush to again play on some of the other stripes and shapes within the painting itself. So another one of Hockney's paintings that got turned into a sketchbook page and then finished bake was his Waldgate Woods, which he did in 2006. So it was looking at these sort of gorgeous pumpkin orange brushstrokes in amongst the green. And when I just sort of focused in on this, I was just sort of seeing chocolate paint strokes, almost like chocolate ganache to gouache. So I made a gingerbread parkin, because obviously parkin's a much loved cake in Yorkshire, and coated it in a sort of canvas of cream cheese and then some dark chocolate ganache, which I then did even darker chocolate brush strokes through, so you got that same multimedia effect that you almost see on the canvas of the painting itself. And then much like Hockney's signature style, it was cut up into squares, and the cake itself, much like the biscuit glasses, was sold in the Tate Cafe, so you could go in and see the exhibition, then have a sort of taste of Tate when you came back out. So the Matisse Blueberry Nude Cheesecake was the first creation I did, inspired by one of the pieces at the Tate for the Matisse Cutout exhibition. So it was all inspired by Matisse's well-known Blue Nude painting. So playing on the theme of blue, I used blueberries to create the actual impact of the silhouette. So it was just like a giant slab of cheesecake. So it had a biscuit base, and then I covered it in like a cream canvas, and then I did a printout of the actual silhouette, and then just used a scalpel just to sort of make a somewhat invisible line just for me to be able to see where I needed to fill the blueberries in with. And then I started placing blueberries within there. I used whole ones, but I did have to cut a few up, so it was almost like a mosaic pattern. It did take slightly longer than I first anticipated, because I just saw it in my head initially, and then as always these things take a little bit longer, but was very fulfilling once it started to take shape. So the Tate Tiffin all came about to celebrate Tate Modern's birthday, and it was also in conjunction with the Tate Lates that was going on. So I decided to use the actual logo. Initially in my mind I've always seen the little dots looking a little bit like chocolate chips, so I thought I'd be able to translate that, and then I decided I was going to put that onto a cream canvas. It was going to be a cheesecake, but in the end I decided to go for a tiffin. To keep with the sort of dark chocolate night sky effect from the base, and then also playing on the idea it was Tate Lates, using the full moon to also play into all the little pixels, so like the dark chocolate chips itself being a little bit like the moon and the planets, and then even constellations. So once I translated that, I had that up against me, and then I made holes with a cocktail stick through here, which then perforated onto the cream canvas, which then let me put all these little chips on, which took a lot longer than I first thought in my head. And then I was able to pipe pixels with just some melted chocolate to achieve these really tiny little dots here. But yeah, it's just that effect of all the pixels together. But like I said, you could do a number, you could just do one letter, and yeah, just have some fun along the way. And you even get to eat your mistakes as well, which is the best bit.
We're heading to South Africa next.
That's right. Presenter Makita Oliver speaks to Johannes-based artist Billy Zangiwa about art, creative influences, life over lockdown, and daily feminism. Got that, Hunt?
I hope I'm that daily, Darton.
Me too.
Billy Zangiwa, thank you so much for speaking to me today. From your kitchen to my kitchen.
I love it.
I'm in Hackney and you're in Johannesburg?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. All right. I wanted to talk about that city because you've been there for a long time now. And obviously you've seen the city evolve. Why have you decided to stay in that city for so long, and how has it affected your work being there?
Well, the thing is that Johannesburg, it's got a lot of issues. You know, it's an African city, and then obviously we have the recent history of apartheid and marginalization. And also just with kind of like all the economic issues in Africa, a lot of people are coming here looking for work. So we have a lot of socio-political issues, but the energy of the city is so incredible. Like, I've worked all over the world, but I just don't find that same raw energy that just inspires me to just keep doing what I do. It's really quite incredible.
Well, I think people in lockdown realized that, you know, creativity, for me anyway, was so important to sort of keep me nourished and sort of inspired. And I was just wondering, throughout the lockdown period, how you kept yourself inspired and how you didn't go mad, basically. Tell me how you didn't go mad.
Okay, well, I was actually really lucky because I had just worked really hard for a solo project in Paris. And I managed to fly back home just in time for lockdown. And I basically just laid on my sofa for about a month, recovering, you know. So I was actually really lucky with that timing.
You could have had that, if there was no lockdown, would you have had that break?
I would have, but I would have taken my son on holiday because I've been working so hard for so long that I promised him that when I go back home, we'd go on a beach holiday in Bond and, you know, do that mother-son stuff. And we didn't get to, so.
But you had the time together at home.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I've been since we're in the kitchen, to keep his morale up, I've been making him tarte tatin, upside down tart.
Oh yes.
Absolutely.
No mean feat. That's quite specific French patisserie.
Yeah, I get the pastry from the shops ready-made.
Fair enough.
So it's just the caramel, and I think I've actually gotten quite good at making a caramel.
Well, good, very good making your own caramel. My mum is very into making her own caramel. I wanted to talk about your son, Mika. I saw something. I mean, I've seen over the years a lot of things about how motherhood can sort of rip us of our creativity. I mean, I think it's absolutely ridiculous. But what would you say to that statement, that once we become mothers, our creativity is compromised?
Well, we don't have as much time, and we're tired. But that's the place where I've had to kind of readjust my expectations. So I don't work 15-hour days anymore. I work 2-hour days if I'm lucky. But I feel that for me personally, like, the love that a mother feels for her child is just the most incredible experience of that emotion that you can have on this planet. So it's just enriched me in so many ways that, you know, letting go of my ego a little bit actually hasn't been a problem. But I do agree, and I've had conversations with people who say to me, Billy, you could be so much more successful if you made 100 works instead of 20. And I say to them, but you can't compare me to a man with a family whose wife takes care of the home. I take care of the home and I'm the breadwinner. So adjust your expectations. And then that way I don't feel like I'm somehow inadequate, because I think that can happen in the art world, that it's like, you're a mother now, you can't produce enough, so you're inadequate. Like, that's just wrong.
Well, what is your relationship with ambition? Because I think in England, we're quite coy to discuss our real ambition, you know, the fire within us. And I wonder if you are ambitious, and what those ambitions are in your work.
I definitely am ambitious. I'm a Capricorn, and you know, we're hardworking. And we like things to, you know, to work out and stuff. So whenever I make a work, I really want it to be the best work that it can be. But I don't have, you know, the same kind of like milestones that I wanted to achieve before I became a mother. I had all these things written down, like
really
at the Tate or you know, stuff like that. And then I actually realized that it was quite meaningless, and that when you set yourself those goals and you don't meet them, it can be quite depressing. So in a way, it's counterproductive. So what I do is, if something doesn't work out, I go, oh, well, wasn't meant to be. And then if something I didn't expect happens, then I do the victory dance, you know. So I'm kind of going with the flow now. So
yeah, trust the flow in the process.
Yeah, so I think my biggest ambition is really just to be the best parent I can be and role model to my son, so that he can, you know, grow up to be a well-adjusted individual.
Yes, exactly. Becoming a mother led your work to the home, as it were. And I wanted to talk about your early success, because you were in Johannesburg and then went to America and sort of quite quickly found quite real success. What was that like to be in a place like America, making the work that you made, and for it to be a hit?
Well, I never got to go to America because I was breastfeeding.
Oh, just the work.
But my work went.
The work went to America. Okay. Okay, so the work went and became a huge success.
Yeah, and it was really actually a really important moment for me, because, you know, I was thinking about motherhood and I was like, whoa, this thing is just so awesome. Like, I am so like amped by this experience, and I really want to share it with people. And I spoke to my gallery, and he was a man, and I said, you know, I really want to make a work of me with my baby in the home, just like saying this is the best thing ever, and I'm sharing my personal experience with you. And he said, oh, it's too sentimental. Like, people are not going to like it.
He said, so too sentimental.
Yeah, so I put it on the shelf for a little while, but then the stubborn part of me just went, you know what? You never know until you try, and failure is actually okay, you know, because that was obviously the message, was you'll fail if you show those kind of images. And as it turns out, that's what America was waiting for. It was waiting to get a glimpse into a Black woman's personal life and what she does every day. So actually, I'm glad that I was courageous enough to do something that I was told wasn't the right thing to do.
Yeah, and it's sort of accidental politics, isn't it? I love that about your work, because I've been doing a lot of work with my mum. I've in lockdown sort of filming my mother cooking, and we've turned it into a TV show with music, and we dance. And what I realize is that we're showing a Black life, and a Black life in a setting that people don't really expect to see it, like in the kitchen. Well, we have a really nice big kitchen, and my mum is a TV chef, but Black lives look all different kinds of ways. And I think that it's a really important thing sort of to debuff the myths of Black lives. Did you feel like you were intentionally doing that with your work, or was that just something that was happening?
I think subconsciously it was intentional, because I do think, you know, I'm a little bit older than you, and my generation, it was very tricky to be a girl or a woman, because we didn't really know what we were supposed to do. Are we going to be mothers, wives? Are we going to be career women? Like, there was that kind of like lack of certainty. And I think just through my everyday experiences, I was trying to figure it out, to decipher it. You know, how do I become a balanced, complete woman, you know? So it is subconscious, but I think it's definitely something that I was developing.
Yeah. Billy, how do you think we become balanced women?
I think just do it all. You don't like actually do whatever you want. If you want to be a stay-at-home mom, say I am a kick-ass stay-at-home mom. And if you want to like go and be an ambitious artist and go and travel the world, and you know, then do that as well. I think you should just do whatever makes you happy. I think, you know, put aside society's expectations and you know, go for your own happiness.
I wanted to talk about your work. Obviously you work with such beautiful fabrics, but I like that you said that silk chose you. And I like the idea of a fabric sort of leading us and guiding us and choosing us even. So tell me about your relationship with fabric and silk particularly.
I've always been obsessed with texture. So actually I saw something about you in texture. We're like on the opposite end of the spectrum of texture.
How do you know that?
But anyway, I've always...
Your texture is great because it's soft, so I love it. I can have them.
So when I was a little girl, I always remember, like when I think about texture and how I got to fabric, when I was a little girl, we used to have like this patch of the garden where we couldn't cut the grass. Because in Malawi, when I was a kid, we didn't have lawnmowers. We had those like slashy things. I don't know what you call them.
I know, I don't know what they're called either, but I do know what you mean.
Yeah, and you can't get the grass near the pavement. So I used to go sit there quietly when nobody knew what I was doing and just stroke the grass.
No!
For hours and hours and hours. But it's just such a multi-layered experience because there's a sound it makes, the way it feels, the smell it gives off when you kind of like agitated or whatever. And I think, silk for me is quite similar because when I look at it closely, it looks buttery. So it almost starts to melt. And when you cut it, it just makes the most amazing sound. and then when it's all put together, then it just becomes this miraculous thing. So definitely my texture obsession led me.
Texture obsession, I love that. And today, do you find yourself wanting to work with lots of different materials, or do you feel that silk is sort of, it's the fabric that you find yourself going to most often?
Silk is like my base medium. So what I've started doing a lot more actually now is that I incorporate other textiles as well, just to give some nuance. So it's not decorative, like sometimes patchwork can be like different textures of fabric, but the aim is just decorative. It's quite intentional. So if I want to depict transparency or sheen or something like that, I've actually started adding stuff. And I've always loved sequins. I haven't used them for a while, just to also give it that kind of like light reflection. Yeah. So no, I'm not a purist in what I do.
What ambitions do you have for your work today? What are the things that you feel that you still want to do with your work?
I feel like I just want to keep on, discovering, because I feel like every time I have to work for a project or whatever, I find something new. Like the material gives me a new secret. So it's like, oh, since you've shown this commitment to us, I can reveal this to you. So, I do feel that every time I do it, I'm learning. And I have this kind of Japanese philosophy that you have to do something your whole lifetime in order to have the whole secret revealed to you. And so I'm not really multimedia. I think I have more of that kind of ethos of you keep working on something until you truly master it and understand it and can really manipulate it.
Wow, I love that. I love that. Tell me about a day at work for you. Your studio is next to the kitchen. I saw on the Tate film. I've seen your home.
So there's my table where I'm sitting now, and so this is where it all happens.
We're in the studio now.
Yeah, this is my kitchen studio. And actually, I was thinking about you shooting your mom cooking, and I wondered if you were doing it in your kitchen because you also have a kitchen studio.
Yes, we do it always in the kitchen. That's our safe place. Right. Like the other room. I want to talk about Soldier of Love. It's such a brilliant piece of work. The title, why the word soldier? I love that it's the word soldier, but why is it the word soldier?
Well, because it's a fight. I get into like my love camo and go out there and advocate for love and speak for it. I think it's because, like traditionally, championing love has been seen as idealistic, it's like a hippie concept. But I think if we look deep down and we really examine it, I think it's the cure for so many of the ills of humanity is actually just love, compassion, empathy, and beginning with love of self as well, because that's where it all begins actually, is that you've got to nurture yourself before you can go out there and nurture.
Well, in the beginning of your journey with your work, I saw that you put quite a lot of ex-lovers in work, and I wanted to know what it's, because when obviously musicians, when they write songs, they can be ambiguous. But how did you feel about putting such personal experiences, quite frankly, on a huge piece of fabric?
Yeah, I was dealing with the concept of shame. Because, you know, when our relationships fail, we're ashamed, and we feel ashamed because we're a failure in front of people. We can't even have a successful relationship. And I just wanted to put that conversation out there. You know, I just wanted to like bare myself and be naked and say, this has happened. Yes, I feel some kind of shame, but I feel other things as well. And it's actually okay to feel those things. And it's actually okay for relationships not to work as well.
What does your son know about your work? Is he involved in it in any way? Does he know what Mum does?
Yeah, he does, and he's so cute. He's still at that age where he poses for because I do what I call research photos, where I make him do a scene with me, and he loves it. He's like, Mommy, am I doing it right?
You're really into it.
So I think, you know, because sometimes I do switch off from us and I focus on my work, I think for him, it's a comfort to know that even if I'm not available for him, that what I'm doing is about us. I think that helps.
Yeah. And you said that motherhood has changed your artistic practice in the sense of how much time you give to it, but also has it changed the work you make?
I think it's more just in the autobiographical sense, because I'm not really obsessed with relationships so much anymore. And mainly because, well, I'm not going to bars and restaurants and, you know, going to Cape Town in December to like have a party or whatever. It's much more focused on the domestic front and taking care of, like, you know, my obligations as a parent, whether it be providing or nurturing.
How do you think that your relationship with your work has changed your relationship with yourself?
Well, it's a way of putting a mirror to myself, isn't it? And actually, having said that, I'm going to reveal something very intimate, but the hardest thing for me is when I have to do my face. It's so challenging. Every time I get to my face in a work, I'm just like, what's going on here?
Wow, you know? That's interesting. That's interesting, because it can't just be a technical challenge.
No, it's totally emotional, because I'm being judgmental and I catch myself doing it, right? And then I'm like, there's work to be done here. So definitely it's about putting the mirror and actually really, really, really seeing myself. And not saying, oh no, why are you being so judgmental? This is terrible. I'm not judging, you know, I'm not being mean or hard on myself about it. I think it's just coming into the awareness of it and trying to understand where that comes from.
Where do you find your joy, Billy?
Oh, my joy is in the everyday, you know, like now it's spring here and the garden's flowering. I love that. Watching my baby sleeping, you know, it's like the most beautiful thing. For me, it's really just the everyday, just appreciating the simplicity of life and the gifts that come for free.
Thank you so much for speaking to me today. It was lovely to talk to you, and I've really I knew your work, but I've really been looking at it all week before our interview. It's brought me a lot of joy, I must say. It's been great.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah. And you know, like, I'm a fan of yours. I used to watch you on that on the T4 thing you used to do on holidays. I forget what it's called, but I lived in London for a little bit. And I used to work on the floor in front of the telly. And so I would have you like entertain me while I
I'm honored. Well, this was Kismet that we spoke today then.
Next, Wendy Asumadu puts the art in makeup artistry, using her face as a canvas and creating designs inspired by Lubena Hamid's paintings. Looking good. Looking good, Darton. Looking good.
Hi everyone, my name is Wendy and I'm an artist, creator, makeup artist based in London, and today I'm going to create a new makeup look inspired by one of the art pieces at the Tate. I connected so much with Lubena's painting because the lines and the textures just really reminded me of African fabric, kente fabric, Dutch wax fabrics, something that I've grown up with, growing up in a Ghanaian household. So I just instantly felt like I wanted to imitate those patterns in a way, but also make it my own. I feel like for me, when I paint really free, it really gives me some joy and it allows me to experiment. I love making mistakes or doing things that might feel to some people unconventional because, you know, I feel like that's when you get the most amazing ideas. I want to create a pattern because I love patterns, and also in Lubena's painting, the garments that the two ladies were wearing had a pattern. I'm going to use colours that I like as well, because again, I don't like to copy an artwork. I like to take inspiration. I would go ahead and layer them and see what does that do. You get a really nice overlay, which is quite cool. And then, if you've got any other face paint or different tones, go ahead and start using different tones as well. So I've got like a lighter green that I can use as well. Also get like some different colour face paints together and see what that does. That does something cool. I think that looks quite cool. And there, I feel like because of, you know, the different layers of the different colours, like the red and the green, it's slightly creating some kind of depth and texture, which I think is really lovely and really relates to the painting as well. So I've put some yellow on that side of the paintbrush, and I'm going to put some red and see what happens when I add it over here. That looks pretty cool. For me, I love experimenting because you never know what you're going to get out of it, and I feel like that's the best way to create innovative work or work that people have never seen. I just create no rules for myself, and it just allows me to just come up with some, you know, some really cool ideas, and I love that. I get inspiration from my surroundings. I love paintings. I love abstract art. I love conceptual art, and that has always inspired me, whether it was in my art practice or my makeup practice now. I'm inspired by the fabrics that my family wears, my culture wears. Kente fabrics have always been a huge inspiration for me because I love the patterns and I love the contrast in colours, and I love the variations that the fabric comes in. Dutch wax fabric as well has been heavily present in my life, and I mean, I can't even go into how many patterns and colours that I've seen of that style. Like, it's never ending, and every week I see something different if I'm walking down the street and someone's wearing their traditional outfits. And for me, that just gets my mind going. Pattern is just, I'm just very connected to it, and it definitely stems from, you know, the culture that I've grown up in. So yeah, guys, get a random bit of paint and just flick it. Don't even make it even. Just see where that takes you. Like, a bit of just rolled on my eye, but I'm gonna keep it there because why not? Again, I have no rules when it comes to my makeup. I'm just gonna get some paints and just create some random lines, and just because, you know, we want to tie in that look, we want to tie in that painting as well with this look and make it connected whilst making it my own. As you can see, it just, if you see this, don't know if you can see, but the brush strokes here, I really like that, and I just want to add that into the look as well. So I put some paint on the paintbrush, and I'm going to dry it out with a bit of tissue or baby wipe, and then I'm just going to, that will just get some texture on our look, which is really fun. Don't be afraid to mix the paint up as well. I would use different paints that you have. You've got water-based paints, oil-based paints, that can create some really nice texture. And just be creative whatever you have. Like, if you have eyeshadows, use eyeshadows. Use eyeshadow brush and do the same thing that we're doing, just using that brush to create that texture and layer it. If you have pigments, use pigments. You can also use, like, mixing mediums with the pigments to make it more into a paint. Use whatever you have. I love to recycle what I have, because it's also really important to not overconsume products as well and not waste products. So I love using, you know, new materials and old materials together to get what I need. Oh, we've got a little drop there. Should we leave it? Just leave it, but like create a little I also like to leave gaps as well, because for me, when I face paint, I'm not trying to turn myself into this different person. It's still me. So I love to keep elements of my face still there, because I'm trying to show I'm not trying to hide anything or conceal anything or transform myself into anything. This is Wendy. I'm really happy with the way mine looks, and I just want to finish it off by getting a bit of eyeliner under my eye. This is the final look. I just changed the headscarf because I felt like I wanted to tie in the colours from Lebena's painting. I hope you had as much fun as I did. If you want to see me play with makeup more, you can find me on @wendysworld_XOX on Instagram. And that's where you can see me creating more art and just having so much fun with makeup. So I really hope you enjoyed it, guys, and you take care.
Fancy a film?
Chilean artist Cristobal Leon and Jacqueline Coquinha are known for their stop-motion films that bring spectacular paper and masking tape sculptures to life.
The Andes, a recent addition to Tate's collection, presents a shape-shifting spirit that moves through the walls of a home office, producing sinister symbols, plants and human forms.
Kind of creepy.
Kind of cool.
But a bit creepy.
That's really cool.
Hello, I'm Joaquín Cosiña.
I'm Cristobal León.
We are the directors or an artist of Los Andes, the film that you are about to see.
Los Andes is a stop-motion animation film, short film, made in the year 2012. We made it in Chile, where we are living now, and it's this film is part of a series of films and works called The Third World, or El Tercer Mundo in Spanish. And in The Third World, we played a role-playing game in which we imagined that we were religious fanatics, and we were creating a new Bible. We were bringing a new religion to the world. So this short film was part of that. And in this specific case, we were based on the writings of a very controversial and crazy writer of Chile called Miguel Serrano, who was a Nazi. He was the main and maybe only member of a movement called esoteric Hitlerism. So yeah.
So we do this like regularly we have been doing this like this role game in which we are like dressing the skin of a person who it's not of our size of thinking or our political side. We basically prefer to imagine that we are part of that side of way of thinking or philosophy, instead of doing something against that philosophy. So and this way of working give us sometimes some troubles. This stop motion film is made in real size. I mean, it's like basically it's a room. There was a room in Cristobal's apartment at that time. You will see that we are really good in destroying places and doing a big mess.
The production of the film took us around 2 months, and we used different materials such as masking tape, newspaper, some woods, I think, paint for walls, and a lot of rubbish. This work is important for us because during the production of this work we decided to make our first feature film that we premiered 2 years ago, La Casa Lobo, or The Wolf House. So it was a very special time, and well, we are very happy that this work is part of the collection of the Tate London, and yeah, we hope you enjoy the film.
See you soon or not soon, based on the context.
See you.
See you.
Me llamaste y yo acudí a ti. ¿Quién eres? ¿Conoces el verdadero nombre de América? Es Albania, tierra blanca de los dioses blancos. En Albania se oculta un tesoro. Es un oro que se bebe. Hubo una raza de hombres de cabellos dorados y piel transparente. Los gigantes fueron los primeros viajeros de otros mundos. Construyeron los monumentos de piedra. El tiempo de Europa ha concluido. Sus hombres y mujeres tienen la piel blanca y el pelo dorado. Pero la gran civilización del norte está en su decadencia. Aquí en el sur, los gigantes eran hermafroditas. Ayudaron a modelar los continentes. Se escondieron dentro de las cordilleras. Allí esperan. Debes seguir tu sangre, porque la sangre es condensación de la luz. Pero no la luz del sol dorado, no la luz de un sol galáctico, sino la luz del sol negro. Aquí en el sur se oculta la ciudad de los Césares. Debes encontrar la ciudad oculta en los Andes. Cuando la encuentres, una nueva era comenzará. Llegarás a la ciudad dorada, que se oculta sumergida bajo los basurales, y una nueva y antigua religión comenzará. Todos seremos dioses, creadores de nuevas flores.
Hi, thank you for sharing your time with us. I'm Michael Wellen, Curator International Art at Tate Modern. I'm a specialist in modern and contemporary art from Latin America, and I was involved in bringing Los Andes by Leone Cosina into Tate's collection. All acquisitions, whether purchases or gifts, have to go through a heavy review process, with lots of committee meetings and debate. Part of our jobs as curators is to research works and build compelling proposals about their art historical and cultural significance. At one of these internal meetings, I began by showing an excerpt of Los Andes, and when I paused it to begin making my case, several people in the room said, "No, keep playing it." They all wanted to see what would happen in the film, so I pressed play, and we were transfixed. Los Andes is a bizarre world that spins together myth and reality. It shows the artist's freewheeling imagination, but also has obscure but specific references to dictatorships in Latin America and esoteric ideas about Nazism. The technical mastery of the stop animation is obvious, but there's something mesmerizing about the narrator's voice, the ambient sounds, the pacing. We're watching Los Andes on our computers and phones, but the work can also be shown in immersive and sometimes spooky installations that include sculptures made of masking tape and props. For the creation of a feature-length stop animation film, La Casa Lobo, The Wolf House, the artist duo built different sets in museum galleries over a series of years. At each, they produced new segments of Casa Lobo and screened past works like Los Andes. This is such a unique style of working, building up bit by bit. I find it inspiring, and I hope you'll agree that the worlds they create are unforgettable. This work entered the collection thanks to collector and philanthropist Juan Yagru Torres, who presented it as a gift in honor of Felipe Lecaros. Also, I want to mention that this week is an important anniversary. On the 11th of September 1973, the president of Chile, Salvador Allende, was overthrown by a military coup led by Augusto Pinochet. What followed was a long and brutal dictatorship, with crackdowns on students and intellectuals, artists and creatives, any person who could be perceived as a political dissident. This had a direct effect on the visual languages used by the artists, and the effects of the dictatorship are still being felt in Chile today. I worked with several colleagues at Tate on a collection display at Tate Modern called A Year in Art 1973 that explores how artists in Chile and the UK worked in solidarity in politically turbulent times. If you liked this film and would like to learn more about Chilean artists in Tate's collection, I encourage you to look at the website about the 1973 display. Thanks again for your time and interest.
As the evening draws to a close, it's time for some soothing yoga movement with Gerard Martin.
That's right. So slip into something comfortable and get ready to stretch in a sculptural kind of way.
Hi, I'm Gerard Martin, dance artist, choreographer, movement director and yoga teacher. I'm here at the Tate Modern by this beautiful sculpture called Pavilion as part of the Living Cities exhibition. Galleries are a great place to escape to, especially when I'm feeling overwhelmed by the everyday hustle and bustle of life. I've created a movement-based yoga sequence for you inspired by the art behind me. If you're feeling any pain, please listen to your body and stop if it gets too painful. I'll be giving some variations for you, but this is a very beginner-friendly sequence. If you come to a seated position with your right leg in front, and just placing your hands onto your knees, shoulders over your hips, and close your eyes. Take a deep inhale through your nose for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and gently sigh out like you're fogging up a mirror. Gently tilt the chin to the chest, feel the stretch on the back of the neck. I'm just going to roll the head towards the right shoulder, and then rolling through center towards the left, like a little pendulum swing. So we're going to swing to the right on an inhale, and swing to the left on an exhale. Gently roll the head to the chest and stacking the spine, lifting the head. Take 3 shoulder rolls, inhaling up and exhaling down into the back pockets. Inhale up and exhale down. And one more, rolling the shoulders and down. Reverse that process. So like you're putting on a giant rucksack, inhaling and exhaling for 2 more. And 1 more. And we get quite structured, almost like the artwork behind me. So building a column. So interlacing the fingers, forearms together and wrist. We're just going to circle, figure of 8, just add some mobility. And the other way as well, just a few circles. Sometimes we get quite tight in the wrists and forearms because of all the typing we do in everyday life. And then having your hands interlaced by your chest, we're going to go up and down, adding a little bit more motion. It's almost like the curves in the sculpture behind me. And taking it the other way, so up and down to the left, almost like waves. And then sending the hands out into fists, and we're going to rotate the wrist outwards. Might hear some clicking of my wrists going. And then the other way, coming forwards. Then feeding the fingertips onto the shoulders, inhaling the elbows through center and exhaling down. Almost like you have expansive angel wings, inhaling up and exhaling down. And one more in this direction. And we're taking it up and to the sides and through the middle. Send the hands onto the knees. And then we're just going to take the chest forwards on an inhale. Chin your chest as you send your focus down towards the earth. Inhale, we lift the chest, maybe seeing the sky. Exhaling, chin to chest, scooping out the stomach like a scoop of ice cream. And back to center. Just going to add a little bit more awareness. So we're going to rub through the hands, almost like your early cave person. For 5, for 4, for 3, for 2, for 1. Place the hands onto closed eyes. Take a deep inhale. Hold the breath. Place the hands onto the knees. Send the body forward and expel all the air through your mouth. We're just going to scoot the legs round and come onto our hands and knees. We're going to stack the wrists underneath your shoulders and hips over your knees. Gently sending the hips back towards the heels, sucking the belly as you go forwards on an inhale. Exhaling, sending the hips to heels. And again, be mindful of your knees. If you feel like they're restricted in any way, just have a little gentle rocking sensation. Back to all fours, sending the fingertips onto the mat and the right leg in between. Just going to work into the quads and the hamstrings, back and front of legs. So gently inhale as we lift the head. Exhale, feel a stretch at the back of the knee, not locked. Feel free to use the hands, so you can send the fingertips towards and away from your hips. Back to all fours. I'm just going to slip around to the other side so you can see. Fingertips stacked. Making sure the hips are square to the front of the mat. Inhaling and exhaling. Again, if you need to walk the fingertips backwards and forwards, feel free. And then we come to all fours, tucking the toes, knees apart. Just going to circle around the hips and the body, just opening, adding more space. And then moving it, making sure we employ the breath in and out of the nose. For 3, for 2, and for 1. Gently bring the knees onto the mat and sitting down, placing the hands onto your lap and gently close your eyes. As you're closing your eyes, just thinking about a candle in the center of your chest, and this candle's growing brighter and brighter and heating your system. Taking a deep inhale for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and gently breathe out through the mouth. So we're just going to do a couple of sun salutations just to add more space into the body. So if you come to standing at the front of your mat, having your feet together and ankles joined, imagine there's an invisible zip all the way down from your heels, all the way through the center of the body, all the way up to the sky. Just going to breathe the hands up, inhaling, hands in prayer as you bring them down to your center. Imagine you're sitting into your favorite armchair, so sitting all the way down. Fingertips either side of your feet, gently lift the heels and rock over the toes. Send the hands back to your ankles, ground the feet as you move the right leg back. Take the hands flat onto the floor and we send the left leg down. So we're into a nice plank, so the hips in line with the shoulders, heels pressing back. Feel free to come down to your knees if you need to. From there, Taking a deep inhale, knees, elbows, chest, chin. If this is straining you, come down to your forehead. From there, we take a deep inhale, lengthening through the toes, elbows squeezed in, shoulders back, and then lift the chest very gently. Again, you don't have to come up too high if you're feeling it's compromising your back muscles. Pressing into the hands, suck the belly and send the hips to heels into a lovely child's pose. Taking a deep inhale, feel free to move from side to side if you need to. Ground the hands, suck the belly and roll through the stomach to all fours, cat position. We tuck our toes, we soften our elbows towards the mat and we lift our hips up for our downward dog. Taking a deep inhale here and exhale through the mouth. Feel free to keep the knees bent, or you can move them independently, almost like you're squashing grapes. From there, just going to send my right leg forward. Feel free to bring the back knee onto the floor. Just going to lift the heart, almost like a wolf baying at the moon, taking a deep inhale here. As you exhale, bend the back knee a little bit more carefully and then gently move into a forward fold. Both knees are bent, holding your opposite elbows and feel the lap resting against, the body resting against the lap. Gently the arms going to pull down towards the side, stacking the spine, sucking the belly, navel to spine as you roll up for 5, for 4, for 3, for 2, head centers 1. Just going to do it the other side. I'm just going to move over to the other side of the mat so you get a clearer picture. Again, we sweep the arms up on an inhale, root to rise. On an exhale, elbows come together as we sit into our comfortable armchair. Taking the fingertips either side, we're going to lift the heels as we gently send the knees over toes. Take a deep inhale. As we exhale, move the left leg back and ground the hands, right leg into your lunge. We're just going to take a little bit of a motion forward and back, almost like there's a spirit level on your hips. You can also do this on your knees. So we're just moving forward and back, spreading the hands. Gently soften the knees, elbows, chest, chin to the floor. Again, there's a variation of forehead if you need to. Take one inhale as we send the hips into the floor, long legs. Come up a little bit higher if you wish. From there, we continue that direction of movement as we press back into our child's pose. Taking a deep inhale and sighing out. And feel if you need to shift from side to side, that could be an option. Sucking the belly, rolling forward to all fours. As you exhale, soften elbows down towards the mat, tuck toes. Send the hips long and up towards your downward dog. Take a deep inhale and sigh out. Again, bending alternate legs if you need to. And then we send the left leg forward. Come onto fingertips. Option to bring the back knee down. Taking a deep inhale. As you exhale, soften the back knee. We're going to spring forward so both feet come into a line. Holding opposite elbows once more. So as you see my laps being blanketed by my torso. And let the arms release. Rolling up for 5, for 4, stacking the spine, for 3, for 2, head coming up last. You arrived on 1. Coming to the front, taking a deep inhale, hands in prayer. Close your eyes and exhale out.
So we hope you've enjoyed the programme.
We definitely did. What lush talent.
And if you've been inspired by what you've seen here tonight, including us, you can visit Tate Modern to see the collection artworks.
I mean, we're not in the collection.
Not yet, no.
But to make up for that, it's 100% free and fabulous.
Just hop online and book your free ticket in advance of your visit.
And we hope to see you at the next Uniqlo Tate Late Night for a mix. Oh, sorry, night in. Get
Night
it right.
in.
Night in.
Night in.
Night in, yeah. For a mix of art, ideas and music, which we will be streaming monthly.
And don't forget, you can catch up on anything you've missed and keep sharing your experiences and creations on social media using the hashtag Tate Lates.
Clear. Bye. Love you. Mean it.
Au revoir.
No, we do actually have to go.